And the funny thing with those agreements, like they're the same one if I would have done a medical study on you, or
Really?
if I just interview. So it's like, you know, blood drawings, and it's look like, if you read it, it's pretty scary. It doesn't really matter.
It does, okay.
It doesn't
'Cause
matter.
I can keep this one if you want, and I'll actually do it the right way and give you this one back. How about that? So I'm up here, signature of person taking part in study.
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
That should be there. Yes.
17.
Yeah, but I like this area. My niece goes to medical school, so I try to visit her like every 2-3 months. So that will be your part. Yours is perfect. Thank you. This is part of that one. I think it's page 3.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it is a nice area. The weather is, gets a little cooler than South Florida or Central Florida, but it's, we rarely get snow here.
We had really hot, like my parents were visiting from Russia like 2 weeks ago, and we had like 85. And I was like, whoa, that's hot even for us. That was hot. Actually, like yesterday when we were driving from one time zone to another one, the biggest question was like for me, how you guys schedule meetings?
How do you do like schedule and everything?
With the time?
And it is interesting here because we're actually on the state line. I mean, I used to live in Phoenix City, Alabama when I first got out of college, and so yeah, I was literally in the central time zone, so I left work at 5 o'clock and got home at 4:15. But actually, the area just to the west in Phoenix City, which is Russell County, and I have Russell County as a coverage area. Most all of that community is an integral part of Muskogee County, so they all go on Eastern Time. So that there is no confusion over that. But you're right, when we first got into the technology age and we're using, calendarized digital appointments, there was definitely that learning curve that, what is it your time or my time? Your time or my time? I worked for a company that was based in Kansas City, Missouri, and we always had that issue and everything. But the computerized calendars and everything pretty well take care of it. But we do have to be careful when we're talking to other food banks about setting meetings up to make sure we have the right
because you don't think about it because you're just right on the border. Because yesterday when I was driving, and I actually went back to our emails and I saw the Eastern time, and I'm like, oh.
Yes.
And then I looked. It's like I know that Auburn is Central and Atlanta is Eastern, so you guys right in the middle. So it's quite fascinating.
So we do have to pay attention to that. But
and when you do like pick up deliveries from grocery stores, you use their time
most all the truck drivers and everything are aware of it enough because they are constantly changing. My son's an over-the-road driver, and so he gets kind of used to that and everything. So those that answer our phone either in the warehouse or here are just aware to ask the question. Now what's Eastern time? We would always say 7 o'clock Eastern Standard or Eastern Daylight Time. So that usually prompts the thought in someone's mind that if they're crossing time zones, they need to be aware of that. So.
Well, I was just, this is something that completely doesn't relate to what I'm doing, but I was just wondering because it is confusing. It means that, as you said, that you came home an hour early, but you also needed to wake up an hour earlier to get to work.
Right. Yeah. See, we have Russell County in Alabama as well, and the far westernmost part of that county does go on Central Time, and we make some deliveries there, so we do have to be very careful with them that they understand that.
Just exactly making sure. So did you originally start in the nonprofit sector at the food bank?
I did not. I was in the corporate world for 24 years.
The dark side.
Yes, that's right. Yes, unfortunately, but for a good company. You aware of Hallmark cards, greeting cards. Well, the one printer that
I like their Christmas ornaments.
Yes, yes. The one printer they own is right here in Columbus, and their base is in Kansas and Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, actually. But they have plants in both sides of the river there. They have the same situation. The one printer they owned was here. It was a local guy that started the company, was just very good at lithography and perfected the process. And they saw it and said, "Wow, we better snatch this guy up, or we don't want him working for the competition." So they were in business here for years. We used to print about 6 million cards a day. And that was about half of what Hallmark did worldwide. They farmed the rest out to vendors in the Midwest. But in today's technology-driven world, as the the greeting card has kind of shrunk, and it's far
In
less.
size.
Kids, people your age and younger, they say happy birthday by getting on their phone, and don't send a $5 card. So long story short, that company closed down. Hallmark just moved all their capacity back to the Midwest, and so I was with them for 24 years in finance and management, but I had sat on the board of directors here at Feed in the Valley for 8 years. So I was kind of in the right place at the right time. There was the opportunity here, and my job was winding down over at the Hallmark plant, and so I just hopped from one to the other. So.
Well, that's great. I mean, from what I've talked to people, it's definitely rewarding.
It really is, and I had experience in finance and management and logistics. I ran the warehouse for a while, and in HR, human resources. So you kind of need a little bit of each of those skill sets working in this position in this company. And so there was an existing director here. They were in a campaign to grow and to build this facility and other things, and it was not going well. In fact, it was not being well received, and the board of directors decided it was time for a change, and so they brought me in, and we were able to get it turned around and complete our plan. We now have 3 facilities. We have one in the northern end up in Troup County. That's the map of our counties. We built this new facility, and we moved in here in the end of March of last year, so it's been about a year, almost 2 years. And we just opened a 3rd facility down in Randolph County to service those southern counties. It's sort of what we call a regional distribution model. We have a presence in the north, a base here in the central area, and one in the south. So logistically, it helps to keep trucks off the road. It helps partner agencies to have a much shorter drive to get to food. Folks down in Clay County, it's 70 miles to get up here, and 70 miles back, and very few churches have those sort of resources. So we felt we should have a presence down there and be able to store food. So we do our mobile pantry box program, and so we can store some food down there and have it there whenever we go down to.
But you guys own all 3 facilities.
Well, we own this one. We lease the other 2. The southern facility is really an agreement with the enrichment services down there to partner in their facility. They own a building. It was grant funded, and it's got cold and frozen storage. And they just found they didn't need that capacity, so we said, hey, we'll pick it up.
Worked out.
Yeah, just right. So, but the facility in the north is it's a 25,000 square foot building, so it's a great deal of capacity up there too. So we leased that one.
You have a lot of counties.
14 counties, about 5,000 square miles. It's still one of the smaller food banks, but we're now distributing over 9 million pounds of food a
But
year.
you're not a PDO, you're an actual food bank.
Actual, yeah,
Did you start as an actual food bank?
We started as a PDO of Atlanta.
Atlanta
Was basically the gentleman that founded food banking in the state of Georgia, Bill Bowling, founded the community, the Atlanta Community Food Bank, and folks down here. There's a group that got together, called themselves the Interfaith Action Interfaith Action Group, and it was individuals from all denominations, the Baptist, Catholic, Presbyterian, Episcopalian groups that said, we need a centralized source of food here. And a lady in that group was part of the Episcopal ministry. The founder of the Atlanta Food Bank was in the Episcopal ministry, and they got talking, and he said, yeah, we can open a PDO down there. So they did, and in time grew big enough to where we basically got our own charter and took off from there. We celebrated our 35th anniversary last year.
I know. I saw it on your website. So it's 35 years is quite impressive.
Yeah, that's.
And for how long you've been independent? Meaning like.
I don't know exactly, but I'm going to say it
like
was
10, 15 years.
Oh no, it's been.